Everybody, I would like to thank the director and the staff of the Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis of India for this invitation to air the perspective of the small island republic where I come from, the Republic of Cyprus. So my speech will be pretty much reflecting the Cyprus's perspective on the hydrocarbon reserves that have been recently found in the Eastern Mediterranean basin. One thing is for sure, the Eastern Mediterranean is going through interesting times. Historically, I guess we have always been living in such times. The Mediterranean, as the etymology of the geographical name denotes, constitutes the middle of the earth, the place where multiple trade routes meet and intersect. The battle for the control of such trade routes is perennial from ancient to modern times. In modern times, Cyprus's political legacy stems to a large extent from its acquisition by the British Empire, as indeed is the case of India, I believe. Importantly, the Eastern Mediterranean Sea lies exactly at the crossroads of three continents, Europe, Asia and Africa, and as of recently at the heart of substantial natural resources reserves. Benjamin Disraeli got hold of our island in an effort to thwart the advancing Russian Empire from entering into the Mediterranean Sea, the warm waters. That was the reasoning behind the British decision to acquire Cyprus at the Congress of Berlin 1878, and in an effort to prop up the Ottomans, the collapsing empire of the time, described as the Europe's sixth man. Disraeli's decision in 1878 was to be vindicated time and again. As oil started to be pumped out of the Middle East, Cyprus served as London's outpost, securing the uninterrupted flow of the vital energy resource for the formidable industrial machine of the British Isles. It is no coincidence that Sir Anthony Eden exclaimed in strong and unyielding words the British government's position in Cyprus clear and flat. Without bothering to clothe it in the familiar language of imperialistic idealism, Sir Anthony defined Britain's stake in one word: oil. He stressed, "Our country's industrial life and that of Western Europe depend today and must depend for many years on oil supplies from the Middle East. If ever our oil resources were imperiled, we should be compelled to defend them. The facilities we need in Cyprus are part of that. No Cyprus, no certain facilities to protect our supply of oil. No oil, unemployment and hunger in Britain. It is as simple as that." This is a quote from the Conservative Party convention in Norwich, UK in June 1956. 4 years later, with the Zurich-London agreements that established the Protectorate Republic of Cyprus under guarantorship of Britain, Greece and Turkey, just reached and signed in 1959, Eden underlined, "The value of the compromise will depend upon the spirit in which it is worked and upon acceptable arrangements for our military bases." After this historical background, I move to today's events, and I guess, as the chairman said, the search for hydrocarbon reserves is on the way up, and you may be interested to hear that as of the end of last year, 2011, it became clear that the exclusive economic zone of the Republic of Cyprus is entitled to, is blessed with substantial natural gas, if not also oil reserves. On November 15th, Noble Energy of Texas, USA, under license to drill for gas in both Cyprus and Israel's exclusive economic zone, announced that Cyprus's Block 12 has estimated gross mean resource range of 3 to 9 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, and that is on a 60% probability of geological success. To put matters into perspective, 3 trillion cubic feet, which is the lower end estimate, is enough gas to cover the needs of the 1 million or so islanders on both sides of the divided island for over 100 years. However, exploitable gas reserves may actually stand at the upper end estimate of 9 trillion cubic feet for Block 12, while the Cyprus government will be auctioning some or all of the remaining 12 parcels in its exclusive economic zone within the year. Noble Energy announced that it is keen to bid for a second block, and there are other companies from Russia, from France, also announcing their intention to bid for contracts in the Cyprus economic zone. In addition, 50 kilometers away from Block 12 lies the Israeli Leviathan gas field carrying 16 trillion cubic feet of gas, which is also drilled by US Noble Energy. The final outcome of the exploitation, the degree to which this vital natural resource will prove to be a blessing and not a curse, will depend upon the spirit in which it is worked, to borrow the all too relevant remark of Anthony Eden half a century ago. There is little doubt that the discovery of vital natural resources in the Eastern Mediterranean Sea is already producing far-reaching geopolitical consequences. In the limited time available for presenting this paper, I would examine a few of these most important geopolitical consequences. Number one, as soon as Noble Energy announced the discovery of natural gas in November 2011, the US State Department created the Bureau of Energy Resources, reflecting the emphasis the US places on energy in the wider region in general and in Cyprus in particular. Karen Enstrom, the regional officer of the new Bureau of Energy Resources, is assigned to establish her headquarters in the US Embassy in Nicosia for the diplomatic involvement of the US in energy developments in the Mediterranean, South Europe and North Africa. The US Bureau of Energy Resources is headed by Carlos Pascual, State Department Special Envoy and Coordinator for International Energy Affairs. Mr. Pascual is former US Ambassador to Mexico and Ukraine. Mrs. Enstrom's mission will reportedly be to help facilitate and manage geopolitical developments as regards energy by enhancing diplomatic relations with the main energy producers and consumers in the region and by promoting US access to energy in developing countries. She will also be expected to boost the energy market forces by differentiating the current policies concerning alternative energy and electricity development. Number two, the gas bonanza may potentially be a catalyst for the settlement of the sad political cum geographical division of Cyprus, a result of the Turkish invasion and continuing occupation of the northern third of the island since 1974. We may recall that the donors' conference called in Brussels on the UN plan purportedly to reunify the island in 2004, but in substance to continue the dismemberment and protectorate status of the island, failed dismally to secure the necessary funds to finance the proposed settlement, which was rejected anyway by the overwhelming majority of Greek Cypriots, forming 80% of the island's population. 7 years later, with the discovery and prospective exploitation of natural resources, one can easily infer that the prospects are coming into place for Cypriots themselves to self-finance a just and thus viable settlement of the so far intractable Cyprus problem. Having said that, it is my humble opinion that the settlement of the Cyprus imbroglio hinges upon a constructive stance by Ankara, be it the regional power with high stakes, not only in the island but in the region at large. Turkey, a hydro hegemon, as pointed out yesterday by our colleague Dr. Uttam Kumar Sinha, is increasingly becoming also a hydrocarbon hegemon, issuing threats and provocative statements regarding not only the Republic of Cyprus but also the European Union at large, the very club that Turkey seeks to join. It is indicative that the Turkish president, at his most recent visit in London, he called the Republic of Cyprus half a country and the European Union a miserable union. Ironically, these comments were made in London at the conclusion of an official visit, 23rd of November, in a country that the UK has been the champion par excellence of Turkish full participation in the European Union. Interestingly, David Cameron, the British Prime Minister, steered clear of any statement on the Cyprus front, avoiding at the same time a response to Gül's arrogant remarks about the European Union. To my mind, it is incumbent upon Turkey, as the rising regional power, already a major energy hub, a member of the G20 group, the 16th or 17th biggest economy in the world, a staunch NATO ally with the second biggest army in the alliance, boasting a military manpower equivalent more or less to the demographic size of the entire Greek Cypriot majority on the island of Cyprus, to show a measure of compromising attitude with a view to a lasting settlement on the island. However, one would ask, what are Ankara's objectives with respect to Cyprus? Are these related to the promotion of a solution to the benefit of the people of Cyprus and for promoting stability in the wider Eastern Mediterranean Near East region? Or is Turkey seeking the perpetuation of a system of a vassal, half-baked state, half a country, to use Mr. Gül's expression? Lest we forget, it is the whole of the island that acceded by the Treaty of Accession to the European Union in 2004, implementation of the acquis communautaire, the body of European law, suspended in the north of the island pending the political settlement. That is to say, the internal restructuring and redistribution of power in the Republic of Cyprus. Another interesting point I would like to make is echoing again yesterday's comments about Turkey's policy, is that Turkey is the only country in the region which is not a signatory to the UN Convention of the Law of the Sea, echoing the fact that it's not a signatory in the non-navigation uses treaty, which I learned yesterday. As regards Cyprus, the Republic of Cyprus has reached and ratified exclusive economic zone delimitation agreements with its eastern and southern neighbors, be it the State of Israel and Egypt. Agreement with Lebanon has also been reached pending ratification before the Lebanese parliament. Under the law of the sea, the exclusive economic zone is a sea zone over which a state has special rights over the exploration and use of marine sources, including production of energy from water and wind. What is Turkey's posture on this crucial question? regarding the agreed distribution of natural wealth in Eastern Mediterranean basin. Ankara questions the right of the Republic of Cyprus to be entitled to its own exclusive economic zone, hence the overtures to Cyprus neighbors in the first instance not to sign, and after the signature to repeal their exclusive economic zone delimitation agreements with the Republic of Cyprus. Turkish maritime policy is that islands are entitled neither to their own exclusive economic zone nor to continental shelf. The Turkish argument has serious repercussions vis-à-vis the potential delimitation of both the EEZ and the continental shelf with Greece in the Aegean and the Mediterranean Sea, and this is a reference to the case of the southeasternmost Greek island of Castellorizo. For limitation of time, I will not go into the case of Castellorizo, but it is a very pivotal case with regard to the division of exclusive economic zones between the Eastern Mediterranean countries. Such an attitude, such a Turkish attitude, clearly contravenes the provisions of the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, to which Turkey, as I said, is not a signatory, the only country in the region which has not signed the UNCLOS. As stated above, the Law of the Sea provides that every state is entitled to special rights over the exploration and use of marine resources in its own EEZ. I move on to the last part of my speech and to press the point that, to my mind, fitting Turkish pipelines carries the danger of feeding a hydrocarbon hegemonic Turkey. Taken at its face value, the Turkish argument implies that Cyprus is non-existent on the map of exclusive economic zones delimitations in the Eastern Mediterranean. In other words, according to Ankara's logic, the sea zones in the region for the purposes of exploration and use of natural resources should be divided between Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt and Israel. Ankara seeks to exclude Cyprus and Greece, the southeasternmost island of which Castellorizo, as I referred to, with its 430 inhabitants, lies just 170 miles west of Cyprus, but just 1 mile off the Turkish mainland coast. However, the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea stipulates that a populated island with human economic activity gives it full rights to its own exclusive economic zone. Put this in the context of the rising ambitions of regional power, the neo-Ottoman grand scheme projecting a blend of soft and hard power from the Balkans to Western Asia to North Africa, it is not too difficult to infer what Ankara is driving at. In all probability, to tap on the island's sea and land resources, feed her own pipelines easily and cost effectively to become the region's unrivaled energy hub and hydrocarbon hegemon. What would such an ambitious Turkish scenario mean for Turco-European and regional balances in Western Asia? If Turkey gets away with devouring the Eastern Mediterranean basin energy resources, circumventing international law, Ankara will be holding a disproportional leverage, first over the EU at the time of an ongoing and deepening internal European crisis, two, a disproportional leverage over its regional rivals at the time of enormous fluidity, instability and uncertainty about the political future in the Arab countries, and exceptionally Syria, with which it shares 900 kilometers of common border. Three, that Ankara will be manipulating Europe and the West in general in their search for a powerful, purportedly West-oriented proxy to perform the role of the region's strategic ally, exporting the model of Western democracy and stability further east. Probably, in the eyes of certain policymakers in Brussels and Washington, Ankara fits the bill. However, in the West's designs for the Arab and Muslim world in the recent past, Ankara proved how resistant and independent it can be. Just think of the case of the U.S. Invasion of Iraq. Feeding hydrocarbon hegemon Turkey with Eastern Mediterranean energy resources, which mostly she is not entitled to, will run the risk of Ankara holding both the European Union and the wider Western Asia and North Africa hostage to its neo-Ottoman designs, since the former will be in control of the supply of a substantial part of the region's energy resources. In such a Turkish-inspired self-serving scenario, it is next to impossible to identify room for small regional partners like Cyprus to play a new important role in the EU's and Western Asia's energy security. I think here I echo the concern of my dear friend, a professor from Nepal, about Nepal's role in exploiting energy resources vis-à-vis China. Last but not least, such a hydrocarbon hegemon, where Turkey gets the upper hand in the exploitation of Cyprus's natural resources, runs the risk of further isolating and alienating the indigenous Turkish Cypriot minority, which is eager to free itself from the chronic patronization of Ankara, which has effectively turned northern Cyprus into a large military base. According to UN Secretary General reports, Cyprus is the most militarized place on earth, and this is primarily due to the heavy presence of the Turkish army with 43,000 troops, 650 artillery units, and 350 tanks, and so on and so forth. The desire of the Turkish minority to free itself from the stifling engulfment and the patronization of Ankara is becoming more and more evident as a firmer desire expressed last year in repeated mass demonstrations in the north of our capital, the northern part of Nicosia. That's in 2011. And if Turkey really becomes even more arrogant with tapping into our resources, I do believe that the Turkish Cypriot community itself will stand even a lesser chance to free itself from the stifling engulfment of Ankara. Thank you very much indeed.